Greetings and salutations, my name is Deltran, doing Fire Emblem Heroes, talking about Summer Tiki. We're doing some PvP builds for her, or something you could use on those Infernal PvE maps that you're going to go through. If you're looking for something that's a little more on the defensive side for her, or the cheap side for her, I got some links for you that I can bring you to here in just a moment. But before we do that, let's get down to business. We're talking about the quintessential glass cannon build for axe users. This of course is using a Brave Axe Plus. We got ourselves some Luna going on for her here that works out best for her. Life and Death 3 and Desperation, trying to make her a quad build, which she does okay. We talked before in the previous video about how 30 is actually really terrible. It doesn't quite get you anywhere, but here's the thing. 30 basically puts you out of range for a lot of Sword Lords, and you're never going to throw an Axe user at a Sword Lord anyway. While there are some Axe users that could take on a Sword Lord in certain conditions, we're not expecting that from Summer Tiki. So believe it or not, her 30 speed is just good enough to be able to handle that Brave Axe and be able to deal the kind of damage that we expect it to. Of course, Brave Axe is what's going to let us get a double tap whenever we initiate, not whenever we're retaliated on. And because of that, we're going to want to be very aggressive with this build. Luna is a 3-charge special, but since we're double tapping the first time around and we have enough speed to do a follow-up in many cases, thanks to Life and Death recovering our speed for us, we're going to get Luna off on many initiations. It's going to help us through a lot of things. There's also a lot of other creatures that we just will thwomp on, because we're initiating on with the 2 normal swipes. So we have lots of room to go around and cause chaos with this particular build. Of course, it wouldn't be a glass cannon build if we weren't a little bit frail. We're trading in all of our awesome defenses for the ability to do damage in this case, which is nothing new, but it's worth saying here because we used to have okay defenses. Now we don't anymore. That combined with the fact that we have a low hit point total, as far as I'm concerned anyway, means that 1, we're going to be hitting that desperation range really quick, and 2, she's going to fall apart, so you don't want to let her stand out there and just take things and maybe do a healing here or there. And no, that's not the kind of build this is anymore. This really is glass cannon, and while she might have better defenses than other cannons that we've seen in the past, don't rely on them to, well, really do anything for you. Let's talk about IVs real quick. You want a plus attack. Usually plus attack is what you want with all these kind of builds anyway, but plus attack minus res is the best. Increases our win ratio to 104 at that point. If you have minus attack, don't, I can't really say much more, just don't. That's not a thing. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. I recommend threatened attack for the C slot, but really, just use whatever you need to use to make your team work. That's the most important thing. But threatened attack is there in case you leave her dangling out in the middle of somewhere. Maybe she'll be able to survive a hit from some random melee user that comes running up to her. But once again, don't depend upon that being a thing. Let's take a look at the obituaries. I set this up with everybody having Fury because that's a little more realistic in a PvP arena or in a really difficult Infernal situation. So 73 wins now at this point in time, 84 if you have the plus attack nature. There's a lot of good heroes here that we are knocking out, a lot of blue, which is good, which is to be expected, but there's also a lot of gray as well. You're looking at Bride Cordelia, you're looking at Kagero, Setsuna. There's a lot of heroes here that you're knocking out, and that is fantastic. So this hero is going to do exactly what you need this hero to do. If we take a look and see what we're drawing against, however, we're leaving some people on the table that you shouldn't be surprised about, but honestly, it always saddens me whenever we see a green unit leaving so many blue units on the table. And it's always the armor. I know that's what they're supposed to do. It doesn't matter. We're leaving Effie and Gwen just standing there staring at us. We're leaving a Cherish, which usually if you're talking to builds we are, means they're going to be talking a Brave Axe build as well. And it's just not going to end well, guys. Robin sticking around. I can only really think of 1 or 2 people in the world that use female Robin, period, and, well, they're pretty formidable once they're on the field. We're leaving the tanky Merrick and Boy, or Bowie, or I don't know how to pronounce his name. I am so sorry. Baruka, there's a lot there. The reds that we're bouncing against. Celica, I mean, if you look at I put all the reds at the bottom there. And honestly, except for Skilled Roy and Eldigan, you're not going to find those people too often in Arena. Celica as well, especially at least right now as of time of recording. But when it comes down to it, we're leaving some good reds there, and if we haven't talked about them yet, they're a unit that's going to kill us. So yes, Ryoma, Ike, all of the other fun units, they're trashing Summer Tiki, and that's to be expected, to be perfectly honest with you. Last thing I want to talk about is how she compares to other glass builds. And when it comes down to it, she is not as strong as Legion would be. She's not as strong as a good IV Raven would be. And that's where my biggest hang up over recommending this comes into play. If you have a good IV on Raven, plus attack or plus speed, either one is going to get you a lot of wins. You might as well just keep Raven, because it's going to be a lot cheaper for you, to be honest with you, in the long run, just to build it out. Otherwise, the losses that Summer Tiki is getting compared to Legion, a Grand Hero Battle champion that you can get, and Raven, a wielder of Brave X Plus, the wins that she's not getting aren't that impressive. I mean, we're talking Olivia is the only one here in a PvP setting that matters. The other, depending on which one you're talking about here, the other 2 to 7 that we're missing, but depending upon IVs and all that stuff, is no big deal. The only one that we're really leaving behind is Olivia. So if you have a Brave Axe Plus on a terrible IV Raven, or from anybody, yes, you can put on Summer Tiki. Yeah, she's going to devastate for you, and she's going to really perform for you. But when it comes down to it, if you already have a Brave Axe user that you're starting to build up, there's no reason to switch gears. So this is a gimmick build, and not gimmick as in, oh, I'm going to put Defiant Attack and she'll do well when she gets low in hit points. No, if that's your definition of a gimmick build, that's really, really cute. This is going to perform completely different under 3 different sets of circumstances. It's going to take a little explanation. Let's dive into it. We're going to keep Melon Crusher on her. That'll help us out for initiation. 52 wins, 67 if you have good IVs like plus attack. That's not too bad, but here's the problem. As soon as you do that first swing, you're going to lose 2 hit points because of Melon Crusher, and then you're not going to get this anymore. Your win ratio is going to tank. High 20s, low 30s, depending on your IVs. So what's the big deal here? Well, once you get down below 50% hit points, that's whenever Brash Assault is going to kick in. Meanwhile, we have Swift Sparrow here. There's a couple different A-slot skills that'll work. I would not recommend Life and Death. You need to have the defense, and as a matter of fact, we talk about the plus defense IV in the upper right-hand corner there. You see it's still 52 wins, still 5 losses. But the plus defense is important. If you have a plus defense Tiki in this regard, even with minus attack, it's not going to be this. It's a good use for it. You know what? Let me just go ahead and show you what we're working with here. Let's go ahead and take a look at the obituaries. First, we'll take a look at who kills us. There's only 5 people who are killing us, which is great. Now, these are vanilla. This isn't with Fury enabled, but we have Hector there, and as I always tell you, quit initiating against Hector. No one needs to initiate against Hector. Otherwise, we have Athena. Ellawood is probably the PvP unit that we're going to see the most. Athena's already optimized, to be honest with you. She has a great starting kit. And once you get into gimmick builds, seeing people like Laszlo and seeing people like Longku, that's not a surprise. That's going to happen whenever you start getting into gimmick builds, because they're already optimized to take advantage of weaknesses that flux, like what we have here with Summer Tiki. So that's the bad news. The good news is that we have a lot of people that we are bringing down. This is a list of people here that just can't seem to stand against our might, and we have some strong people here. We have Lisa the Cleric there, we have Ephraim, we have, I'm not going to read everybody here to you, but there's all the colors here, and a lot of them are pretty hard. Now, this is the one thing to note, is that this set of obituaries that we have in front of us are shared whether we're at full health or whether we're past half health. So all of these people are going to fall to our giant melon being smacked into their head like Gallagher. Actually, Gallagher didn't slam melons into people's heads. Never mind, look it up. these are the people who are going to not like to face us all the time. So here's where the fun really starts to kick in. You have a completely different set of kills whenever you are at full versus whenever you are below half health. The top set here is whenever we are at full health and we get the melon bonus. The bottom set is whenever we're getting Brash Assault. Brash Assault lets us get 2 swings on enemies as long as they can already counter on us. So if you look up top, we have people like Kagero. On the bottom, we have people like Effie and Raven. This is so neat that you have so many different options for being able to manage this. If you need to go kill a Nunu, then go ahead and do it right away. If you see that slow tank of an Effie, or if you see a female Corrin marching down, you can wait until you're beat up, and then you can go ahead and actually take that threat. This is really nice that you have this kind of flexibility. Is it disappointing that you just can't do it right away? Well, sure, but we also keep a really high defense with this, which is one of the reasons why I was trying to pimp out a plus defense IV with this. You're going to be able to actually take some hits. Not lots, you have 35 hit points, but you will actually be able to stand and deliver for quite a while. Hey, do me a favor. If you're on mobile, rotate your phone to landscape mode. If you're on desktop, hit escape. And click that like button if I gave you something to chew on. If you have some questions about these builds or you have some other options, go ahead and leave them down in the comments. Until next time, take it easy. I also recommend using Ignis for this instead of Bonfire. Honestly, if you're in for a penny, in for a pound, go with Ignis on this build. Save the Bonfire for someone else that you're trying to initiate quickly with. What Ignis will let us do is if you are really using your Summer Tiki, once she gets down pretty low, there's going to be over 100 people as of recording this, that she's just still going to be able to lay waste to using Ignis. It's a wonderful build, and if you are in a longer chain of events where you get to carry the unit over from one to another, you could heal her up and she could do it all again. If not, it doesn't matter because you're pretty much already done with her depending on what game mode you're using anyway, and you've gotten a lot of mileage out of her. This is a fun build. If you have a Tiki, I highly recommend that you give this a shot.